Alright, the people of YouTubes. My name is the Super Duper Zach. And, I build wild and crazy things, of which, are pretty borderline retarded. But, I built this in shop class. Yeah. Now, I originally had a Schwinn OCC chopper bicycle, which is where you see the forks, the wheel, freaking handlebars, tire, and seat. Now this frame was entirely built from scratch. Now the only aspect of it from the actual bike is this mounting piece. I actually took it off because it was actually pretty thick gauge steel and it worked just fine. Had to do some serious gap welding. Not the prettiest job. I winged it the entire time, so forgive me for any, terrible welding. I reinforced the plate, in the neck, so that because there's just so much more stress because of the angle it's at, which is substantially steeper. One thing that I'm kind of proud of, and I know people are just like, oh, that's how do you say, ghetto, and it's this kickstand right here. That's the kickstand holder, and this is the kickstand. So what you do is you get on, lean it over, then you set it in there. Of course, it rattles a little bit, and I'm going to figure out a solution. I'm thinking about like some high-strength band or something like that to then pull it over and then, hold down. I'm not sure yet. So without further ado, let's fire this puppy up. This is a Predator 212cc, 6.5 horsepower motor. Although it's probably pushing a little bit more than 6.5 now that we got rid of that restricted carburetor and put in an aftermarket along with the cone through. So let's give it a pull, shall we? Another thing I want to show you is because it's pretty clever, because on the previous bike that we had this engine mounted to, this thing would slip, right? This hub adapter would slip and then shatter all the spokes. However, what we did cleverly was added a keyway. We welded on a keyway, so now it can't slip. Like, there's just no way it can slip unless it just tears the axle in half. And unless you just throw on the throttle and, you just gotta, take it easy, and everything will be okay. Throttle assembly. Still has the stock one. I just sort of rigged up the stock system, because originally I had a weird spring pulling system. So what I did was, in order to make it a direct drive so that way it'd have more instant throttle response, I got a clothes hanger and I bent it and connected the governor control arm directly to the this part right here, which is connected to the throttle. Yeah, choke, gas in, gas line, gas tank, wires. Yep. So we did that, and let's get this thing to focus, shall we? There we go. The tire, the freaking pegs, tack welded, really ugly too. Engine plate would just, geez Louise, would never gonna break. And to keep the engine from shifting, what I did was I put a tack right here. Focus. Put a tack right here, And since steel and cast iron can't really be welded together, I knew that it won't, you know, weld it to it. You know, just with like maybe a tap of a hammer, and the welds will, you know, break, but the bead will still be there, so it doesn't, you know, shift around. You know, so it doesn't have any play. You know, if you want to do some modifications, you obviously just grind those welds down. Another thing is like on the previous bike that we had, it had disc brakes. I mean, well, it didn't have disc brakes, and we added disc brakes with this adapter. We went to, what was it? I can't remember the website. You know, just Schwinn Chopper disc brakes, and the website will pop up. You know, these are the original forks. I was a little worried about that, but it's a pretty thick gauge, and you know, we're not hitting any serious bumps, or at least I avoid any serious bumps, so I don't see any problems coming out of that. Yeah, I got the light fixture. Quality. I really wanted to put a bullet headlight. Currently I'm putting this up for sale due to the fact that it's not street legal, and my father doesn't like that very much. And I get it, you know, choppers are really not my style. I just built one for the heck of it, because they're easy to build. And a lot of people will go, wow, what is that? That's cool. So, you know, there's that. Oh, that's why the camera wasn't focusing so good. It was on autofocus. So here's a torque converter. It's a Chinese knockoff. However, it still works pretty good if you keep the surfaces clean. You know, it doesn't jump. It used to jump, but then I realized that, hey, maybe I should just clean it. I cleaned it, and sure enough, it worked just fine. Actually, right before I made this video, I was noticing that the engine, you know, on the previous bike, which was on the you know, the actual OCC Chopper Stingray bicycle frame, which ended up ripping to pieces because this thing was just so powerful. We noticed that it was getting some vibrations, some serious vibrations. What I realized was this exhaust pipe, when you would throttle it, it would start shaking, and in turn, obviously, then this would start shaking, and then the whole bike would start shaking. You know, it's crazy. And so this exhaust pipe came with a mount a long time ago, and I found it, and so I mounted it like that, and all of a sudden, smooth as butter. It was great. Originally, we had a support here. We had to chop that out, obviously, for the chain, so that way we don't have to have a chain roller, which is really nice, because, you know, the chain rollers would always just break and rip into pieces because there's just so much power behind them. And some people are saying, well, hey, doesn't that threaten the structural integrity? I don't really think so. This is such overkill stick tubing. It's pretty heavy, but it can get up to speeds, obviously not as quick as the other one, but this thing can still go up to about 60 miles an hour. 60 miles an hour, you say, doesn't sound very fast, but when you're on this sketchy thing, and you're 3 inches off the ground, and you just see the, you know, the freaking road just blazing past, it gets pretty spooky. Yes, it does. Another thing I noticed is this thing doesn't shake. I thought it would have some shake, but it doesn't, which is pretty nice, because some Harleys, if you don't properly tighten the bearings, at about 40 miles an hour, you're going to get some speed wobble. But I didn't experience any speed wobble with this. In the beginning, when we had built the original Schwinn OCC Chopper Stingray 212 Predator bike, it did have some speed wobble at first, and I just had to get used to it. And, you know, I learned how to control it, obviously, with enough time. Speaking of which, it was me and my friend Cody. We'd built that previous bike overnight. And I might upload a video of a little, you know, just view I did of the old bike, but it's nothing cool or anything. So, you know, like I said, it's up for sale. I'm putting it at about $250. Obviously, it's worth way more than that, even in the materials alone. You know, the Predator's $100, the exhaust pipe's like $100 well, not $100, it's about $60. The torque converter's about $100. You know, the rear rim is almost $200, believe it or not. It was crazy. I could not believe just how expensive a new one of these is. You know, because they discontinued the Schwinn chopper bike. You know, the front disc brake. Actually, these are double-walled and heavy-duty spokes along with a disc brake hub and the disc brake adapter along with the disc brake itself. Cost, what was it? About $113. So obviously, I bought all these materials from my friend Cody. For $300, I got that paid off a long time ago, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe I haven't. Shoot, I probably still owe him some money. Besides that, yeah, I'm selling it for about $250. You know, I got a friend who's interested in it. I'm gonna feel pretty sad about seeing it go, but right now I'm just trying to make as many videos so I can just keep them on the interwebs so they will never die, so I can go back and look at them and be like, yeah, I built that. The hardest part about the whole bike, honestly, was this arch right here. It took almost like 4 hours making this. We filled it with sand and we heated it up with a torch. We spot heated it, right? And then we would bend it in sections, just a little at a time. It was me and my friend Jesse Bruno. Muy es bueno. Yeah. So we still have a support on this side, you know, main support, and the engine plate is very thick, so it also acts as a, you know, twist resistor, because it's more than an 1/8 inch thick of steel, and it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it really is. Yeah, the gas tank, obviously, I was not happy about that. I was going to plan on building myself a gas tank, but, you know, running out of the school year left.